She was standing right in front of the house, but had no idea what to do next. The air felt suffocating, and she suddenly wanted to talk to someone, so she called her sister, Chasen. During their conversation, Chasen mentioned that she had left in September, not July, which was what Chaya remembered. She wanted to tell her everything, but was afraid of being treated like a crazy person. She considered mentioning the video, but hesitated, fearing that her sister might betray her again. Instead, she simply said that her memory had been really bad lately. Chasen casually replied that she even forgot her boyfriend's name, Park Yoon-soo. Hearing that name, Chea froze. In the video, the man she had been talking to, she had called him Park. Finally, she made up her mind and stepped inside the house. It was covered in dust, and as she moved, she accidentally knocked over a glass, breaking it. She turned around at the sound, and right in front of her was Park Yoon-soo staring at her. "What are you doing here?" he asked. Chaya was shocked, and Yoon-soo asked if she planned to stay on the floor. She quickly stood up, but before she could regain her balance, Yoon-soo placed his hands on her waist, holding her in place. He asked how she got here, entering this mansion so fearlessly. Chaya asked what he was doing right now, and thought that no matter what question she had, he was always somehow involved in it. Yoon-soo explained that this was his family house. An average person wouldn't be able to find it, so how did she? Chaya noticed that he always used to smile, yet right now he definitely seemed angry. She said that she was just passing by and got curious, so she decided to come in. She asked if she could take a look around, but Yoon-soo immediately stopped her, saying that he would show her around himself. As they walked, she kept asking him questions one after another. Finally, Yoon-soo asked why she was interrogating him. This was his house, and she was the one trespassing. If anything, he should be the one interrogating her. Then he remarked that she was acting strange today, thinking that it was almost as if her memories were back. Chea replied that it was the same for him. He too was acting strangely. Something about this moment felt eerily familiar, as if she had seen this expression before. Without thinking, she reached out and brushed his hair aside. He looked exactly like the man from her dream. Yoon-soo stiffened. He had been holding back for so long now, resisting the urge to cross a line. He warned her that if she kept doing this, he wouldn't be able to control himself. But Chea didn't stop. And so, Yoon-soo kissed her. Chea asked him what kind of relationship they had, insisting that this was definitely not their first time doing this. Yoon-soo asked if she was referring to yesterday, but she told him that she had seen him in her dream, wearing a white robe. Yoon-soo immediately knew what kind of dream it was. She had run away in an attempt to forget everything, and yet she still dreamed of him. He suggested that they confirm whether it was really him in her dream. He kissed her again, touching her exactly as he had back then. Chea recognized his touch immediately. She hesitated before asking if they used to be lovers. Yoon-soo confirmed that they indeed were. Unconvinced, Chea refused to believe him. But Yoon-soo pointed out that she wasn't the type to do these things with someone she didn't know. If she were, she would have already slapped him. Before he could finish his sentence, she did just that, slapping him across the face, though she didn't even know why. Without another word, Chaya left the room. The thought that she might have actually liked someone unsettled her. But as she wandered deeper into the mansion, she suddenly froze. Lying before her was a corpse. She wondered if the man was really dead, but he looked far too pale to be alive. Then, as she got a closer look, she recognized him. He was the driver from yesterday. She turned, wanting to run away, but instead, she ran straight into Yoon-soo. He looked at her nonchalantly and told her that if she ran, she would only get lost. Chaya tried to run again, and when he followed her, she grabbed a lamp and smashed it over his head. But Yoon-soo only smiled and asked what she planned to do if she went around hitting people like that. Now terrified, Chaya asked if he had really killed the man, and why. Yoon-soo thought to himself that there was no real reason, it was simply his instinct. Chaya was horrified, unable to understand what he meant, while Yoon-soo laughed, thinking that even with her memories erased, she was still the same as always, just like he was. He told her that he truly loved the expression on her face right now. She glared at him, saying that he gave her the creeps. but he only shrugged, replying that she had always been like this. Frustrated and afraid, she asked why he was doing this to her. He simply replied that he was just that crazy about her. He stepped closer, and before she could react, he used his powers once again, erasing her memories. Later, he told Leo to get rid of the body. Leo mentioned that there was actually another vampire in Korea at the moment and that he would send him over. And so a man arrived to collect the body. Yunsu noticed that the man had no distinct aura, making it impossible to determine whether he was a vampire or not. Meanwhile, the man, who was actually Gemino, recognized Yunsu as a vampire right away. As Gemino worked, Yunsu took note of his unpleasant scent, realizing it was the same one he had smelled on the man who had been with Chea at the church. Later, as they were leaving, Gemino realized that Yunsu was the one who had been lingering around Chea lately. At the same time, Yunsu confirmed that Gemino was indeed the man from the church, recognizing his habit of adjusting his glasses. Both of them were left wondering about the other's true identity. Back at his father's mansion, Gurum asked Leo how to kill vampires. In response, Leo poured his blood into a wooden cup and handed it to Gurum, instructing him to take a sip. Just as Gurum was about to drink it, Leo snatched the cup away, scolding him for being so naive. He demanded to know if Gurum would blindly drink anything just because someone told him to. Then he explained that a vampire's blood is poison to its own kind. With that settled, Leo said it was now his turn to ask something of Gurum. He told him that he would wake him up in the middle of an experiment, and when that happened, all Gurum needed to do was watch quietly. After leaving the room, Leo noticed that everyone was busy preparing for the party. He too had preparations to make. He needed to prepare a birthday gift for father. Later, just as Leo had said, Gurum woke up in the middle of the experiment. What he saw shocked him. His father had given his blood to a woman, and the moment she drank it, her hair turned white, and she rapidly aged into an old woman. After that, father woke Gurum up and ordered him to end the woman. She desperately reminded Gray of his promise that this wouldn't happen, but father coldly replied that he had only promised not to do it himself. That was precisely why Gurum had to eliminate all the people and vampires who had been part of the experiment. Later, Gurum asked Rose about these abilities, and she explained that mixed blood vampires usually develop them when they are on the brink of death or experiencing something deeply traumatic. The type of ability also depends on the situation they are in. For example, when Leo refused to believe what had just happened before his eyes and desperately wished it was only a dream, a powerful hallucination ability manifested. Alone in his room, Gurum wondered about the moment he had gained his ability. For some reason, his mind drifted back to the time his father had tried to choke him. Shortly after, Leo entered his room, ready to inquire about the experiment. Gurum wondered whether he should really tell Leo that the participant had rapidly aged after drinking his blood. What would he do with this information? What was his true purpose? Instead of answering, he requested some wine first, claiming that he couldn't keep his mind straight otherwise. Leo agreed, and while retrieving the wine from the cellar, he ran into Rose. She noticed that he had 2 glasses with him and asked if he had plans with someone. Soon after, Leo arrived in Gurum's room, where Gurum casually invited him to have some wine as well, saying he didn't want to drink alone. However, in reality, he had poured his own blood into Leo's glass. He didn't know exactly what effect his blood would have, but he figured Leo could serve as a test subject. Before anything could happen, Gurum's human servant suddenly teleported into the room. He had recently been turned into a vampire, so Leo congratulated him on becoming an official hire. Then, to celebrate, he handed him his own glass of wine. The boy immediately began drinking it, and Gurum panicked. But before he could stop him, Leo intervened, asking what the problem was. Wasn't it just a glass of wine? Earlier, in the wine cellar, Rose had actually warned Leo about Gurum. She had told him that recently, Gurum had been mimicking Park Yunsu. Knowing Yunsu's personality, Leo immediately suspected that there was something in the wine. Now, grabbing Gurum by the collar, he demanded to know what he had put in his drink. Meanwhile, the boy had already finished the entire glass. The two of them stopped, and Gurum angrily demanded to know what Leo had just said about him putting something in his glass. Leo laughed, brushing it off as a misunderstanding on his part, but Gurim, still agitated, smacked the glass away. As the servant cleaned up the mess, Leo wondered if his suspicions had been unfounded. If there really had been something in the wine, the servant, being a vampire, would have died by now. On the other hand, Gurim was just as perplexed. If his blood had the ability to accelerate aging, then why hadn't the servant changed? Wasn't that supposed to be his power? Just then, both of them noticed something strange. Leo suddenly grabbed the servant's hand. He questioned why his wound wasn't healing. Meanwhile, Chea had gone to visit her sister. She had drawn a rough sketch of Yunsu's face and asked Chasen to confirm if that was what he looked like. However, her efforts were in vain. Her drawing skills were terrible, making the sketch unrecognizable. Chasen then invited her to a small family gathering, asking if she felt lonely, but Chaya immediately refused, insisting that she didn't want to see any of their relatives. Suddenly, Chasen told her to look behind her. Before she could turn, Yunsu leaned in close from behind. He asked what she was doing there. Chea was a bit taken aback, but Chasen casually greeted Yunsu. So Chea asked if she knew him, and her sister replied that he was the very person she was looking for. Yunsu smirked and commented that they had just met last night, adding that they had quite a bit of fun together. But Chea quickly changed the subject, reminding him that they had a dinner date today, and with that, the two of them left. According to Chea's memory from last night, she had decided not to go inside the mansion. Instead, she went to a pub for drinks, where she met Yunsu. They kissed, and she even slapped him. Moreover, it was now confirmed that he was the same Park Yunsu that everyone kept talking about. So, she asked him, how did her sister know him? Apparently, he had also attended the wedding. And what about the women from the church? Yunsu simply replied that it was because he went to church regularly. What about my sister? She pressed, but Yunsu remained quiet. Chea continued, earlier, you said it was our first time meeting. Now you're saying we used to be lovers. Since when have you been lying to me? Yunsu asked why she was questioning him when she was the one who couldn't remember. He said that it was sad she didn't recognize him, or was she just pretending not to? Adding that their breakup wasn't exactly neat, rather for him it was pretty dirty. Then, he leaned in closer to her and said that if they weren't lovers, then meeting someone as suspicious as him should have felt strange. And the fact that he could touch her like this was strange, adding that just yesterday they had almost slept together. Chaya immediately pushed him away, saying that it was just because of the alcohol. Then she asked for his true identity. Yunsu thought to himself, no matter how many times her memories were erased, no matter how many lies he told her, she still doubted him and kept coming back to search for those memories. It was ridiculous because she was the one who had begged him to erase them. So Yunsu asked her on one last date. He handed her a dress and told her to wear it that day. Thinking that it was time to end this, he said that then he would tell her everything she was curious about. Later, Yunsu thought to himself that Chea liked him now. She liked the version of him who was so different from his past self, the one who was always friendly to her. Didn't that just mean she liked him because this version was still him? But deep down, he knew the truth. If she ever found out who he really was, she wouldn't love him anymore. He went to the church and remembered how Son used to pray for everyone to forgive him. But their loved ones would never forgive them, and so the only thing they could pray for was the ability to forgive themselves. Only now did Yunsu truly understand he would never be forgiven, and embracing that truth was far more difficult than he had imagined. Then he ran into the priest, who asked if he had come to pray for forgiveness, but Yunsu simply smiled and replied that he had done nothing that needed to be forgiven. He thought to himself that Son could scold him all he wanted for making the same mistake he did. But Hanchaya loved him now, and that was something he had made happen. As for forgiveness, that was never part of the plan. Meanwhile, Chaya received a message from her sister inviting her to the family's get-together, adding that their grandmother wanted to apologize for what had happened before. Just then, another message arrived from Yunsu, asking her out on their date. She agreed, deciding to meet her family in the morning and then see Yunsu later. But one thing still puzzled her. Why would this be their last date when he had harassed her so much in the first place? Lying down, she found herself suddenly wanting to hear his voice, and the thought startled her. Thinking back to what had happened with Nam Haewon sent chills down her spine. Was she really not afraid enough yet? Was she about to make the same mistake again, liking someone and letting it all happen again? Curling into a ball, she chalked it up to loneliness. That was all. The next day, Chaya went to meet her family. Everyone greeted her, but her grandmother still ignored her. As the others chatted amongst themselves, Chaya sat at the same table, but was left out of the conversation. Finally, when her brother-in-law turned to her, he mentioned that they should have met at the wedding, but he had been informed that Chaya was busy and couldn't attend. Chaya was surprised, but seeing the expressions on her uncle and grandmother's faces, she chose not to say anything. The man didn't even know her name. Yet he went on to say that she had such a good boyfriend and a good family, so whatever situation she was in, everyone would surely be understanding. Chaya was taken aback. Just how had her sister introduced her to him? Then her uncle brought up the fact that he had to pay a large sum of money when Chaya disappeared. Angrily, she retorted that she had already paid him back, so why was he bringing it up now? At this, her grandmother shouted at her to be quiet, calling her uneducated. Now furious, Chaya stood up, demanding to know from whom she had even learned to act this way. She had come here to escape her loneliness, to be with her family. But this family, where one person acted like she didn't exist, another treated her like trash, and her so-called brother-in-law didn't even know her name. She turned to Chasen and asked why she had even invited her. Wouldn't it still be fine if she wasn't around? As they called her name, she told them that if they couldn't even treat her like a human being, then they shouldn't call her by her name at all. With that, Chaya ran out. Chasen hurried after her, grabbing her arm to stop her. Chaya told her that she never wanted this, she didn't need it. But why did they keep making her look forward to it? Why did they keep giving her false hope? She took out a stack of cash from her purse and shoved it at Chasen, saying it was for their grandmother, as payment for the food and shelter. She admitted that she didn't want to settle things with money, but she didn't know any other way to end this relationship. Chasen asked if she was really cutting ties. Chaya replied yes, that with this money they were now strangers, just like everyone else. On her way back, she thought to herself that she had finally broken free. But rather than feeling relieved or happy, she was in unbearable pain. If someone had been around her, she would have burst into tears like a child. But because she was alone, she considered herself lucky. Just then, she noticed Yoon-soo standing beside her, holding an umbrella over her in the rain. Chaya thought to herself, if this was going to be their last date and they were going to be strangers afterward, then what was the point? With that in mind, she stepped out from under the umbrella. Yoon-soo stopped her, asking what was wrong, but Chaya simply told him to leave her alone. She stepped into a puddle in an attempt to get away from him, only to recoil and step back. Turning to face him, she muttered that it felt like she was stuck in the same place. Yoon-soo asked why she wanted to run away from him. After a pause, she replied, "Because it feels like shit," then smacked the umbrella out of his hand. Yoon-soo, amused, wondered why they were always like this, trapped in repetitive situations. People often said that the first time was always the best, but with them, it was never that simple. Chaya continued, saying that her mind was in turmoil because she had already fallen in love with him. Yoon-soo thought to himself, so she realized she liked him, and that's why she was in such a bad mood? Everything was going according to plan, so why did it feel like things had gone so wrong? Then suddenly, Chaya grabbed him by the collar. "I'm lonely," she said, before pulling him into a kiss. Yoon-soo was momentarily surprised by what had happened, but he kissed her back. Then, without warning, he teleported them to a house. He kept her eyes covered, preventing her from seeing anything. He thought about how people said love was two people walking in the same direction, but for them, it felt more like they were tangled together, like they were trying to strangle each other. Then, he asked her, "You said you liked me, so can you stay with me for the rest of your life?" He led her to a seat, guiding her to sit down. In front of her was a wine glass. He told her that if she decided to drink it, Then they would be together forever. He brought the glass close to her, asking if she really thought this was their last date. He had mixed his blood into the wine. When a human drinks vampire blood, they also become a vampire. Yunsu thought that Chaya liked him now, so she would definitely drink it. For humans, forever was just a word, a sweet candy to swallow, so there was no reason for her to refuse. He told her to hurry up and drink, thinking that she had always taken the wine without fear before. He promised to stay by her side forever. But to his surprise, Chea refused. She said that she liked him and wanted to be with him, but she wasn't foolish enough to promise forever to someone she still didn't fully understand. She continued, saying that if he knew more about her, maybe he wouldn't like her anymore, because the people who truly knew her all hated her. Still, she thanked him for the drink, wiped her tears, and was about to drink the wine. At first, seeing her still willing to drink it, Yunsu smiled a little. Then his expression changed. His eyes turned yellow in anger, and he suddenly knocked the glass from her hands. Chea gasped. "What are you doing?" Yunsu said. "The first time is always the best. When I knew you and you knew me, that was the best. Is this what you're trying to say right now?" Chea noticed the color of his eyes and immediately tried to run. She stumbled over the broken shards of glass on the floor, and suddenly memories of when she had come to the mansion flooded her mind. Shocked, she wondered, had she been to this house before? Then, looking out the window, she recognized the mansion. Only now did she question, when had she even come here? They had been outside in the rain just moments ago. Frantically, she searched for something in her bag, but when she turned around, Yunsu was already standing behind her. She stared at him, realizing this was the true face of the person she liked. As he moved closer, she gripped the silver knife in her hand and struck him with it. More and more memories rushed back into her mind, until finally, all of them returned. And as they did, she repeated the words she had once spoken. If she ever liked him, she would hate herself. Yunsu greeted her with a "long time no see." Chea asked why was he in front of her again, and Yunsu replied by asking back, "Why? You said you liked me too." Chea commented that fooling around with a person who had lost her memories must have been fun for him. He argued that she liked it too, even asked him to be with her. Chea smacked him away, asking why he kept coming back. He said he would let her go, so why does he keep showing up again and again? Time and time again, he pretended to let her go, then came back. Why? Yunsu replied that the one who pretends to let go and keeps coming back is actually her. Tears fell from Chea's eyes as she asked why he made her like that. Yunsu stepped a little closer and asked what she meant, but Chea pushed the knife even deeper into him. She told him not to be curious because it was all a lie. She warned him that if he tried to change her life even one more time, she would hate him for the rest of her life, and he would have to live with that. After that, Chea left, and because of the silver knife, Yunsu couldn't follow her right away. Chea was running barefoot in the rain, crying over everything that had happened. Then she noticed that the choker from the dress Yunsu had given her had fallen onto the road. She decided to pick it up, and just as she bent down, she saw a truck about to hit her. Yunsu was still in his room, but he could still sense where Chea was going. Then, all of a sudden, he sensed a lot of blood. He reached her in an instant, but by then, she was already lying in a pool of her own blood. He tried to lift her up, but she was in too much pain, so he let her lie there on the ground. His mind flashed back to the day he had begged Father to save his mother. When Father refused, Yunsu had dropped to his knees and begged him to turn him into a vampire so he could save her himself. Father had asked if he really believed his mother would be happy if he saved her by turning into a vampire. Not fully understanding his words, Yunsu had replied, "Of course she will be." So Father had agreed, saying that this kind of loneliness must be seen and experienced to be understood clearly. It had been a long time since Father used his own blood, but that day he gave it to Yunsu, calling him a foolish child. As expected, Yunsu's mother had refused to be saved. Instead, she had told him to live and to find happiness one day. He now remembered her words clearly, that she would rather die than become a vampire. He remembered San, who regretted becoming a vampire. And finally, he remembered Chea, who had just said that if he tried to change her life one more time, she would hate him for the rest of her life. But then his expression changed. Forgiveness? He didn't need it. He bit his lip and fed her his blood. Chaya's injuries healed in an instant and she opened her eyes, now glowing yellow. She woke up, surprised, and wondered how she was even alive. Then she pushed Yunsu aside, but despite pushing him lightly, he was knocked back quite a bit. Yunsu told her to use her strength in moderation. Then she noticed the blood on the ground and the truck that had crashed into a tree. A sudden realization hit her, and she turned to Yunsu, asking what he had done to save her. Yunsu remained silent and didn't utter a word, simply staring at her confused face. Finally, she asked, surely he hadn't turned her into a vampire? But Yunsu was still quiet. She picked up a stone and scratched her hand. The wound healed instantly. First, she grabbed her face in despair, and then her expression shifted to anger. She grabbed him by the collar and demanded to know what he had done and who had given him permission to do it. Yunsu asked, should he have just let her die then? She replied yes, that at times like these, he should have let it happen. In response, he asked who gave her permission to die on her own. In a fit of anger, Chea grabbed him by the neck and slammed him into the ground. Still holding him by the neck, she demanded how he dared to turn her into this when she had already warned him that she would kill him if he did something like this. Then she realized now she actually had the strength to do it. And yet Yunsu wasn't even trying to resist. But suddenly, she remembered how happy she had felt when she saw him come to save her. That memory made her pause. So she let go of her grip and ran away, leaving Yunsu still lying there on the ground.